So Patrick, we would love to start with you just introducing yourself,
Sure.
and kind of like your background in fashion and within the larger industry. Um, let you kind
Yeah.
of take how I don't want to give anything away, but I know you've been at quite a few bigger labels, and we just kind of want to talk about how you even got into fashion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a while. Like I've been doing this 25 years, and it started way back when I was in my well, it started professionally in my 20s, my early 20s. I was fortunate enough when I was 24, right out of school, to be hired by Giorgio Armani to be the creative director and move to Italy and live there 5 years and help him turn around a business that was suffering and got it back in shape. And after that, I was just hired from, I kind of got known for the guy who could fix your business. And which isn't always the best thing to get known for, because once you fix it, people usually give you the boot. Um, but I went from Armani to Anne Klein to Perry Ellis to Paco Rabanne, did a line for Target, and ended up at the Gap as my last big corporation where I was doing the Gap worldwide. Um, but if I go way, way back, the really cool part I like is that I actually started thinking about clothes and loving fashion when I was 14, 13. I was a surfer in California, surfed every day, was on the surf team in school, and just really got into making surf trunks. Don't ask me why, but I something about making these wild, crazy surf trunks just was sort of my first business. And everyone in my school, but it was I would sell them at school, and they were all made from. It's almost what we're doing now with these. I'd go to the fabric store and find all these scraps of fabric and all different. And I'd mix and match them and put them all together. And people had to pre-buy the shorts because I love that. I was doing pre-orders, and I'd come to school with a big bag and walk around. And if you saw me first, you would get like, a choice of 30 shorts. But if you were last seeing me that day, you had the one short was left, and that was yours. It was
What?
one size fits
I
all.
love that.
Yeah, it was an awesome business. I should go back and do that. Surf every day and make shorts. But that kind of ignited me, and that's what made me want to be a designer and get into design. And I loved it. I always loved making things. I still do. I love using my hands and creating things. And I'm more of a visual person than a sound person. Except when I start talking, I told you guys I can ramble. But that's kind of who I am in a nutshell. I love creating things. And the interesting part, and I'll sort of lead your next question, which I think is coming, which is how did I transition to being way more sustainable, because Gap isn't sustainable at all. After being in the industry 25 years and watching all the waste, being a part of all the waste, right? Because I was leading these companies, and especially when I got the Gap and seeing how much clothing we were making, and that we were on this cycle of seasons, like, right, these fake seasons. Like, when was the last time have you emptied out your closet to get your summer closet ready? No, it's we don't do that. We don't live that way, but we actually are marketed to that way, right? And I was a big part of that. So but it's a huge waste. And I at one point in my life, when I kind of woke up, I saw that my values, my everyday values, how I was living my life, the things I was surrounding myself with, the way I was eating, the things I wanted to do, weren't the same values that I was working at, the things I was working towards and working at. And I took a break. I took about a year and went traveling.
Wow.
And something popped into my head. I'm a backpacker, so I was backpacking, and I could go in many different directions. It kept coming to me that I needed to do something, that life is like that. It kept throwing me these curves, but I was backpacking. I was in Yosemite for 18 days without anyone, and just a guide. Had a guide because we were off trail and going all over. And the only thing I did take up, I'm a light backpacker, but I do take one of my thermoses is filled with tequila always. So I was sitting by the fire having a tequila that night. And I started thinking that it goes to sort of the philosophy that the theory that we only use 20% of the clothes that we own. So we have 100% of all these clothes in our closet, and we use 20% of them. So 80% of them don't get used, and
Right.
that bothered me. And I felt responsible for it, sitting with my tequila around this campfire. And I started thinking, I was there and I had a pair of shorts, a pant that I was wearing, I think 2 wool t-shirts and a puffer. And that was it for 18 days. And I started thinking, could there be a way to think about consumerism that way, that you only really used in life the things you needed? And could clothes be a part of that, instead of the way we've always been marketed about clothes, that clothes are just this thing that you have to have lots of, right? It's fashion. You got to change it every 5 minutes and you got to look different, blah, 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 blah. And that's where Paskho was born. I mean, that's where I came up with the idea of Paskho. It was really born around that. I owe it to tequila and the fireplace, right? Or our fire pit. But
We're all
it
good
came.
ideas.
Tequila. All good thoughts come from tequila. But that was the core of what I started to build. And I came back, and the first part of it was that really bothered me was I started thinking about how do you start this? How do I go about this? What am I going to do? How am I going to come about it? What am I going to call it? I had no idea, because I didn't want to call it my name. I thought that was, I was kind of over that ego thing of everything having to be called my name. And it was kind of, I knew it was going to be a digital company. I knew it was going to be only online, because I wanted to go straight to consumers and really have a conversation. And this name appeared. Paskho, right? It appeared on my computer one day when I kept asking what the name was going to be, and it means passion in ancient Greek, but it's the kind of passion that you have when you're like in love with someone, like you're in love with something, like it's going to hurt, like you're going to have good times, you're going to have pain, you're going to have, it's not like I'm passionate about peanut butter. It's like I'm passionate about something, and I'm going to go on that journey to find out more about it. And I love it. It's all things old Greek. It has to be complicated and hard. But that was the beginning of Paskho. And I'm still on that journey. But I kept having to answer questions. And the first one was, what company did I want to work in? Because I was really sort of disgusted with the fashion industry, and I really didn't want to work in it anymore. But it has a way of always pulling you back in. But I really wanted to get away from the idea of fashion, and the idea, it's not so much fashion that it's design and beautiful and all that. It was more of this industry that just pollutes and sells people too much junk that they don't need. And I wanted to build something, again, with that philosophy of could you do more with your clothing and have less of it? And that really became the beginning of Paskho. And I remember the first part was finding the right manufacturer. That was the first part we had to do. And I searched all over the world, and I kept looking at the clothes I really admired. And there's a bicycle brand called Rafa, great bicycle brand.
Yes,
and yeah, and they make I sourced where they were making their clothes because I love that quality. And it was all, I'm a bike rider too, and it was all made there. And there was Arc'teryx in Canada, this other amazing company, Mountaineering, and it's all made there. And so I sourced out this factory, and it's a factory in Asia. It's run by this amazing man, Gerhard Flatz. I'm not saying it right, but he's Austrian and lives in Asia. And I reached out to him with LinkedIn and said, I'm making this line of clothes that you're going to do more with. It's for every day. It's for travel. It's for life. It's for work. And he says, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't make clothes like that. Like, we make the most technical, advanced clothes in the world, and we're the best at it, and blah, blah. And he was like, so, like, go away. And I was like, just let me come visit you. Just give me 30 minutes. If I fly all the way to Asia, give me 30 minutes. And he did. And by the time I left, he became, he's now a partner in the business, and
Wow.
an investor in the business, and has been with me from the beginning. And I also said that I needed a factory where I could go and I wanted to go and be able to work in the factory, and that was so perfect and so clean, and the people loved it. And that's this factory. Like the people who work there, they have like a retention rate of over 90%, which is unheard of. Like they just take care of their people. And I actually stay in the dorms when I go there with the
Love
people
that.
because the dorms are better than a five-star hotel.
Where is this factory, Patrick?
So this one's in Guangzhou, and we also have we have same company, KTC is also makes all of our pants now in Laos, which is one of my favorite countries on the face of the earth. Just phenomenal country. It's some of the most amazing people you'll ever meet. So happy and beautiful.
It's really interesting. I think when we talk to a lot of founders in retail too, it really does start with really strong manufacturing partnerships.
Right.
Yeah.
And the only way to even begin starting to build a sustainable business is to be really close with like the means of production.
Right.
And I think we talked about this earlier, but it's like there's this sort of like catch-all of like sustainable sourcing, and like what does that even really mean? It's really interesting to hear that you went and found the best in technical apparel and then went immediately to the source and made sure that you could work directly with those partners and build a line.
Yeah, you have to. It's not something, we've all talked about sourcing, right? And that's such a weird thing, like source. I'm going to source something. That sounds like you're going to have like a distance. It's going to be over there and you're not really going to know the people that work in manufacturing and do all the things. That's not the way to do it. Not in the world that we want to live in, not the world that we are all creating, right? That you actually have to get on the ground and actually know the people who are making your products and know the factory and walk that floor. And at the beginning of the company, I was in Asia once. I was there 1 week out of every month. Because I was doing all the design there, because I believe design, the way we make clothes, you have to sort of be there and you have to change things and you develop it with the teams that are there, and they tell you you're crazy and you listen to them. But that's a way to get like a really amazing product, because then you're all in it, but you also know the people who are making it.
If our factory partners are listening right now, I'm glad to know that we're not the only ones that are like living in factories and like having them push back and be like, no. Go home. It's
time for you to go home.
We've used like different materials in our footwear so that it can be recycled, and I can't tell you how many times we circled back to, hey, we've got this really great leather that we could really easily use. And it was this constant like dialogue with the factory on how do you balance like traditional manufacturing at scale with kind of new modern textiles and new sustainability initiatives.
Yeah. Well, and that you go to the next part of what happened on my journey, which was after nothing was designed. We first got that manufacturing partner. We found KTC, got Gerhard on board. And then the next part was,
by the way, Patrick,
the what?
What year was this in?
Oh God, I don't know. Now probably like 4 years, 4.5 longer. When I first met Gerhard, probably 5 years ago now, it took over a year of putting all the other components in place, and me dragging my feet, and then trying to be a perfectionist and just launching. But we've sorry, go ahead.
No.
Oh.
I just want to give some context to everyone watching to how long it really can take to set up a thoughtful, sustainable supply chain.
It's a long process, and it's ongoing, and it's hard. I mean, it's hard. It's hard, but it's there. Once you do the first step, the other steps look very clear. You know exactly the other steps you have to get, especially if you're working with a great manufacturer, because they almost say you need to do this, this, and this, and this. But setting up a business that is doing things responsibly, right? You have to question every part of the process. like we questioned at the very beginning, we questioned poly bags. Most factories, most all clothes in the world, from the factory puts them in poly bags. They get shipped to the warehouse in America or across the country in America. And then that bag gets ripped off and it gets put in a pretty package that you see, right? The consumer. I thought, one, that was stupid from a waste standpoint, but two, why we have too much plastic in the world. We all know it. So we figured out making a resealable, reusable paper bag that's waterproof, that's really tightly woven. And it's the bag that they put our clothes in our factory that ships to our warehouse. We run our own warehouse. And it's the same thing that you get when you order product from Paskho. One, it's smart business. It saves us money. It saves us time. But two, it's also right for the environment. And I remember everyone saying, "Oh, you can't do that because customs has to see inside of it." No, they don't. They can, if it's opens, they can see it. And you have to, you go through so much with customs already. You don't need to prove that. That's like an old model, but nobody questions those small little steps. Right. I remember flying on one of the big parts of Paskho at the beginning was we bought no new fabric for the first year and a half. And it was because I was on a plane and the factory kept telling me I needed to buy fabric. They needed fabric to start making the designs I kept telling them that we were going to make. But it kept making me want to feel like I wanted to, like, I just felt, it felt wrong. It felt wrong for this brand new company to go out and buy all this fabric and buy these minimums of fabric that they had to buy. We all know minimums. You have to buy way more than you always need. Yep. And it just drove me crazy. And something clicked. I was on this plane. I remember it clicked in my head that one of the things I've seen throughout my career was there's always leftover remnants from people having to buy these mass amounts of fabric that they don't use. And usually it gets left in the factory. And when I dug in deeper, what you find out is, in factories in Asia, for example, when fabrics are not used, the government gives 6-8 months a year that the factory either has to use it or they have to destroy it and put it in a landfill or pay taxes on it. Yep. And so usually it just gets sent to the landfill because nobody wants to pay for the fabric, the tax on the fabric. Well, we went in and started buying up all these remnants and buying all these remnants. And that's how we started the whole brand for the first year and a half. And now it's still 45% of the fabrics that we still use are reclaimed. We call them reclaimed fabric. You can see I like reclaimed things from my house, like reclaimed wood. So reclaimed fabrics, which something we go and find these fabrics that were left there and repurpose them. And it makes amazing products. Our customers at the beginning loved it and hated us for it, right? Because they would buy this amazing, beautiful colored pant from us. And they'd come back in 6 months, go, "I want another one, blah, blah, blah. When is that coming back?" And you're like, "Never." Yeah. It was like, we can never remake that. Never going to. It was like a one-time thing. And so it made the beginning of our process really cool. And again, smart business, but also a good thing to do for the world.
But how hard is that? There's no
super hard.
There's no website. So who's going and sourcing those? Like, how did you even set that up?
It was why I was spending so much time traveling in Asia and spending time at our manufacturer and going through books and books and books and books and warehouses full of fabrics to pick out the types of things that we wanted. And it took a lot of time, and it wasn't easy. But sometimes good things aren't easy. Yeah. And we still do it. And now people send it to us. Now we get, now that I talk about it so much, we get people, now it's much easier. We get people who want to sell us their remnants, and we still use a lot from other people.
Yeah. So Patrick, I'd love to go back to the conversation about Gerhardt and KTC.
Yeah.
And talk my
buddy.
Yeah. At the very beginning about when a consumer or when somebody like listening hears the word like sustainable sourcing or sustainable supply chain, what does that really mean to you? And it obviously starts at the factory level, but how did you even evaluate Gerhard's factory? Like, what were you looking
Yeah.
for?
Yeah. First, I think it's social. It's that overused, sustainable is an overused word, and social responsibility is an overused word. But what social responsibility means to me is how people are treated, and that can be it doesn't have to be in Asia. It can be in America. How you see people today being treated. Do they have health care? Do they get we're seeing through all of what we're living through now. Do people get paid time off when they're sick, or are they forced to go to work when they're sick? That's not socially responsible. That's not a good way to treat people. Like, I wouldn't want to work with any of those people who do that. That wasn't what I found when I went to KTC, and so I had to go there. And first you speak to you get to see all the executives and you speak with them. With Gerhard, it was much more relaxed because we sort of hit it off pretty quickly. But then you see the tour, and what really got me was one of Gerhard's favorite things to do is to take people on tours of their factory, and not just the the 2 rooms that you're supposed to see, but literally every single the entire process from when a fabric comes in all the way through. And you can go anywhere. You can walk anywhere. You can go anywhere. The only place they won't allow you to go is in their big, massive sample room, because there's other brands making their products, and so they keep that a secret. So ours is secret from everyone else too, but you can go anywhere else. And that's how you see it. So for me, that's, I had a good friend who does production, and she always said, verify it yourself. Yeah. And so I think it's verifying it yourself, and especially when you're starting something, verify it yourself. And then it was, like I said, it was all the way to, it's the place where I work. I usually go there to design, just because I feel so good working there. And it's also the place where when I go, I stay. I literally don't leave their facilities. They even have a bar, which I love. That everybody can go to at 5 o'clock.
So that's awesome.
You know the tequila. I got that drinking thing that has to happen every day.
So we talked about it yesterday, and when you're looking to set up and it's so similar, and Stuart mentioned this to how we started, but we've had to spend so much time in person with our factories, vetting factories. And we've moved from China to Brazil and did the same thing. Had to go meet the team and really spend time down there and start to understand kind of social and environmental standards. And then it's, oh, sorry.
And I was going to say, it's not, you have to convince people to come work with you. It's not like you just like knock on the door and like, great, come on in. Like, we'll help you with all this dev and like R&D work. It's like, we had to go in and pitch as we do, like anybody that we're kind of like coming into the business. That's really,
and it's ongoing. I mean, they're businesses, and they're also, when I went to Gerhard at KTC, they're full. Like they have the best brands. Every great brand wants to work with them. So you have to go and pitch, and you kind of always are pitching, because we're young businesses, and we're young businesses who are kind of demanding a lot. Right, we want to work a certain way. We want to do everything that we possibly can to be responsible in our processes. So it's a whole different mindset. I'm fortunate KTC already had a lot of those ideas and implementations of being responsible. And if you can find a partner that's already doing all the right things, it just saves a lot. I think it'd be very hard if I tried to change a factory to be responsible the way we wanted them to be. They would cut corners, which we just takes too much time.
But on certain things, like working with the reclaimed fabrics and working into like lower MOQ, was the factory on board from the beginning, or was that a negotiation?
No, everything we wanted to do, they thought was cool and they were into. I mean, the parts I drew up them crazy was the ideas that I wanted to do, and some of the way we wanted to make clothes and all that. So that we challenged them, but they they were used to being challenged by amazing designers that were coming through their doors. But that was, they just thought I was wacky sometimes, which I'm sure I was.
And I've got another like last question, then we'll move on to more questions about Pashko, but why do you think it's so hard for these bigger established brands to kind of change the supply chain
it's a great question.
phase? Like
Yeah,
change
they
the way
don't.
factories run
Yeah.
and stores run.
From my experience, they don't want to. They don't want to because financially, most of them are trying to find their ways still. They don't 100% believe that they judge everything by money, right? And so that's the mistake of it, though, is that they're very afraid to see if people are going to react to buying responsible products, sustainable products, whatever you want to call it. And for them to switch and really do it honestly, they'd really have to switch the whole company and do it. And financially, I think they're afraid because they've always done it this way, right? They've always built their company this way. They've always looked for the cheapest manufacturer, and they didn't want to look at how the people were treated or if it was the right labor. They just wanted the best price so that they could turn around and sell it. That's the number one problem. You see it but you see it not just with lower price brands. You see it with high fashion brands that are very expensive. They're just stuck in a certain way of doing things. It's a shame, but it is a shame it's not. I mean, I believe that our companies are the future, right? Just like those companies were built, I believe that companies are being responsible and doing the right things now are the next wave of really great companies. And we're just starting down those paths, but we're building really great companies, and we'll push those other ones aside. It's like a forest, you know. Old trees have to fall over and go away, and young trees come up in their from their roots, from where their roots were. I think that's where we are. And I think we're seeing such big change now, and we really have an opportunity. I think the whole world with this has seen the light on how they want to live and how they can solve problems. And I think people, once we get through the fear and all the pain that we're going through now, I think people are going to think about their lives a little bit differently, hopefully.
Yeah.
Totally.
I know I am.
We agree.
Really well said.
We're hoping that this is kind of an impetus, even for bigger brands, the way that they think about managing inventory or fabric liability. Like if you're overproducing by 40%, fund markdown business, and then a pandemic hits, and then you have to burn it. Yeah. That's not a sound, sustainable business model.
Yeah, and it's those same issues with tax write-offs that you mentioned with the factories and holding materials that brands are dealing with too. They're, the only way to get those tax write-offs is to either straight landfill or incinerate. So have to change the business model as well to turn those liabilities into assets.
Yeah, we have to think. It's almost we have to think about consumerism, right?
Yeah,
it doesn't work. We cannot consume things the way that we do. We cannot use things one time and throw them away. We can't have a wardrobe of clothes that is the third biggest polluter on the earth, the third biggest use, maybe not third, fifth, whatever it is, but third biggest using water. We can't have 80% of our clothes not being worn, right?
Yeah.
And 80% of our shoes not being worn. It doesn't make any sense. We can't keep consuming. We can't go and get our lunch from a deli down the street and have it be in a paper bag and then a plastic bag and then a little container to hold your food, and you throw all that away with the silverware just so you can have a sandwich. All that consumerism doesn't make sense anymore. And so we all have to think about that. And that comes to, what we're thinking about next is circular, right?
Yeah.
How do you get into circular? But we can't go, as a society, we cannot continue to live this way. And as Americans, we should be leading the world and showing the world, because so many people want to be Americans and want to live in this country and want to do all the things, have all the dreams and aspirations and the great way of life that we have. but we're showing a very bad way of consuming things. You know, and so I could go on and on, but I think changing our ideas of consumerism, which isn't the model for any of these large companies. They're built to overproduce. They're built to go and sell and give you things. They're built to be a different type of business.
Right.
Perhaps they don't deserve to be in our world anymore or in our lives.
You're touching on something that's like really interesting. It sounds like it's at the core of Pashko as well, which is buying less. Yeah. Which is great, and I love hearing that. We talk a lot about that, where we want people to buy our sneakers, but only if you need a new pair of shoes, but not before that. How does this sort of translate for you into like design, into sourcing, into production, and into the final product? Are you like fabrics and design versatility and functionality? Like would love to hear a little bit about how that translates.
Yeah, we're very bizarre in all aspects, right? We don't do seasons. And if you look at our men's top 5 pant, right? 80% of our sales are pants. People love our pants. And so, in the top 5 women's pants, and we only have 10 for men and 10 for women. But those top 5, I would say 4 out of the 5 have been in the brand since the very beginning. Same pant. All we've done is update fabrics and maybe use a different reclaimed fabric, but it's the same model. Because we believe if we make something really great, that we should continue it. And then we only add newness. We add about 20% newness a year. So it's all, that has nothing to do with the fashion model, right? That I'm supposed to have, everybody asks me, do you have a new thing coming every month? And do you have are you changing your stock out every 2 weeks and blah, 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 right? All this stupid stuff. Are you going to bring in your winter collection and your spring collection and your resort collection? It's all stupid. We don't dress that way, right? And if I love something, I just want to buy it again. And I really only need 20% newness from you as a brand. And our customers, you know, we have great return. We have over right now, our customers love our product right now, and that some days we have 70% of our customers are returning. But usually we're in the 50%. Which is great, which is a strong. So 50% are brand new, never seen anything. So why should I make something new for them when I know all these people love these other products? And the other customers are coming back and buying after a period of time, buying that same pant when they need it. So it's taught us that that design, and I'm a designer. I love to make things, right? So I got to find other outlets for that. I can't just be making anymore. It's about really refining and getting better and better. But it's the right business model, and it's the right way that we see building the brand. And people have reacted to it very, very strongly. Our customers we have very crazy, loyal, amazing customers who just keep coming back. And our whole thing is buy less, right? Our clothes can do a lot for you. That we make them they're technical. A lot of them are technical fabrics, and we can get into that. But the reason we did that was so that you could wear them. You can literally, we went to this great performance manufacturer who has the best quality in the world. So you can basically climb a mountain in a pair of our pants and go to dinner in New York City at an expensive restaurant. Yeah. I've worn them to the Met, that big fashion thing. I've worn Paskho to the Met and been perfectly cool, and then and I've worn it backpacking. So I mean, that's making something that has multiple uses. But that's why we make Paskho the way we do, because we actually believe that you should be able to take clothes and in the future use them for multiple things. So you can shrink your closet and really have a 20% closet. Use that space for something else. Meditate in.
I need that in my New York studio.
Patrick, that kind of actually goes with a question here from.
Sorry,
from Remy, who you may know, Remy Fisher, and she says, "It's all over your face." She says, "What can we do as individuals to fix this?" And so probably one of the answers is buy less, buy fewer, better things.
Yeah. Well, you vote every day, right? You vote for the earth and the world you want to live on every day. And I believe that thoroughly. I think it's not only clothes, and we can go into all the other things that you should do. And it's the values you want to have, and it's the world you want to live in. But we all vote every day. So how are you? What are you wearing? What are the brands you're supporting? It's fine to slip off and go buy yourself something crazy and beautiful, and that's what life's about. But what are you buying? What are you wearing? What are all the way down to your underwear? Like really, you can buy really amazing underwear, like, but they're made by great brands.
Yeah.
And I think you think about, people say, oh, well, it's more expensive or it's this. No, you're going to buy yet less and do more with it. So maybe you should buy more quality. Same as you would with food. I mean, you wouldn't go buy a rotten banana just because it was cheaper. You want a great banana.
That's a good way to put it. That's a really good. I like that analogy. Do you want to talk about circularity too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple. I'm just
we'll
trying to look through the questions to make sure we don't miss anything. Quick thing back to Elise, if you're still there. We're going to talk about circularity now, actually, but our thought is that it's actually the kind of circularity that Patrick Stewart and I are really focused on is true brand-owned recycling. Although reuse and resale is also important, but we're pretty confident that COVID is actually going to further hasten brand transition to recycling.
Yeah. So her question was, she's worried that with the COVID situation that the reuse might be an issue.
That people,
yeah, more or less paraphrasing. You kind of touched on it. You touched on sort of circularity and figuring out like how to bring back clothing and how to reuse. Can you talk us a little bit about sort of where you guys are in that process, what the goal looks like for that, and how you're like kind of thinking about it and tackling it?
Yeah. Well, we started, our aspiration, our goal is to be completely circular, all products completely circular. But we have to step there, and we got to walk there. And so we started working with some great scientists, at the end of last year, who are developing a fabric with us that we were going to launch underwear and launch pants with it. And it was an amazing fabric that actually what we could do with it is you could buy something from us, wear it for a year, however long you want, send it back to us, get a new one. And we would take that pant or those underwear, break them down back into cellulose, and this fabric would allow us to do it, the thing everybody's been talking about, and remake a product. At this point, the next product would be a little bit heavier, so we'd probably make a jacket from it, probably not the same. The goal at some point would be able to make the same pant. So we're on that mission. We were going to launch it. We were going to test launching it by third quarter this year. Not going to happen now because we can't even get into a place to start working on it. There's still a lot of work to be done, a lot of research to be done on the producing of the fabric. But we'll get there, and maybe we'll see. I'm a person who moves fast, as my whole team knows. If we can launch it this year, we're going to. But while we were waiting for that, we started doing something else last year through Black Friday. We wanted to see if people would actually start getting rid of some of that 80% of clothes they don't wear. So what we did is, if you bought something from us, you get it in our resealable bag. You received your brand new thing. We wrote on the bags, you got something new, now give us something old. And you could put something old in that bag and ship it back to us. We paid all the shipping. And then we were giving it to we were getting it in bulk and sending it to a company called Wearable Collections, who have partnered with us. And what they do is they take that old clothing that you were going to throw away in the landfill, and they either donate it to someone, they sell it to someone, but they get it back out into a second use. And those weren't even our clothes. That was anything you wanted to send. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah. Sorry, you froze for a sec. That's really,
awesome.
I think that's something we talk a lot about.
Really quick with the cellulose fabric, you're talking about chemically recycling the fabric and breaking it down to cellulose?
Yeah. And one of I have a good friend who is very he's all into, he's not really into sustainable anymore. He's really into regenerative.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great, super smart guy, and everything has to be regenerative. And I was talking to him about it, and the only thing he kept mentioning was to be careful about what we're watching is it takes a lot of energy
Yes.
to actually do that. And so what we need to make sure we're doing in that process, you know, again, every part of the process as you do something, you got to think about is that we have to think about how much energy we're using. It doesn't make sense if we use more energy to remake something than just make a new fabric. Then we haven't really solved the circular. So we're working on the energy part as we're working on the fabric. It has multiple components that we just want to make sure we do all the responsible parts as we do it. So it's fun. It's cool.
That may or may not have seen, we're going to be posting a lot of these conversations, and we talked 2 weeks ago with Stacy Flynn from Evernoon, and she does chemical recycling, which is molecular regeneration, where you basically the way things are recycled right now, it's like even Thousand the way we recycle, it's mechanical recycling. So we're shredding fabric down and we're cutting it down in tiny little pieces and then weaving fibers, I guess, not weaving, but extruding.
Yeah.
And they're less strong, so there's a half-life, and every time we have to put in new or previous, like only once recycled stock or feed. What Patrick's talking about is the real future, and we talked about this also with Tom Zaki at TerraCycle, which is where you're chemically breaking things down to their molecular structure and rebuilding the fibers.
Yeah.
And then you can make a product one for one.
Yeah.
And what we have to overcome is exactly that, is energy use. But eventually we wouldn't need cotton fields. We wouldn't need new crops because we have all the material and fiber that we'd ever need if we could really put it into a closed loop regenerative system.
Right.
And the amount we throw away in landfills of just clothing every year is shameful. It's disgusting.
70% of all landfill waste.
Yeah.
I think it's like a garbage truck every 30 seconds or a minute.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And most of it is, and we haven't even talked about how fabrics are made. I mean, the amount of chemicals that cause cancer that go into making fabrics, and almost all fabrics. It's something that we eliminated in the other part of all the fabrics that we now buy as we've grown to the size we have. But you have to be careful of that. But that ends up in the landfill. So, and it also ends up on your body. And wearing clothes that have these chemicals on is still not good for you.
I was going to ask you about some of the materials and the fabrics that you're selecting. And I think we touched on this initially, where it's like everything's kind of a trade-off, right? I think, and there's a lot of different schools of thought out there, like, oh, we should only do naturals. And there's a lot of things that I think people don't understand about, like the negatives of cotton or some of the other fabrics you're choosing. And then some people are like, well, we should only use, synthetics because, for whatever reasons, they're like lower energy to create, but then there's also negatives
higher
there.
Performance, more durable.
Exactly. How are you sort of balancing that, and what are the trade-offs that you're sort of considering? And
great question. Yeah. We make, as I said, most of our clothes are made from technical fabrics. So you have nylons and you have micropolys and you have elastic in them. And all of those we know cause, we fully admit this on our site, that they cause microplastics when you wash them, right? One of the big problems out there. So we've been working really hard to sort of think about how to capture those microplastics so they never leave your home. And so we partnered with a company called Filtro. It's on our site, and we offer a discount to them. And it's a little filter you can put into your wash machine. Super easy to do. I've done it. Filtro. It's Filtrol, and so the 160 is the number of the machine. Great company, very cool company. It's on our sustainable page where we talk about the microplastics. We're actually working and going to be a part of using our 1% donation in California to try to help make it into law that you have to put filters on wash machines, because we think it's not only technical clothes that do it, all clothes shed, but technical clothes do it, and we're a part of that, so we want to make sure we're doing everything that we can. Reason we use technical fabrics is because they're better for all the things that we talked about, that you can have less of them and do a lot more with. We found on our tops, like the top I'm wearing, it's all made from merino, but we use a ethically raised merino that's never harmed in the shearing. and we buy it from the best source, and it's a beautiful quality thing. And merino is something that you can wear instead of cotton, which is the biggest use of water out there. It's not a great fabric. But with merino, you can wear it, and it keeps you cool when I go to Laos, it's 110 degrees. I wear merino, and you're cool and you breathe. And it's a great fabric when it's cold in New York like it is today, and you can wear it around. It was the first wool was the first technical fabric, so that's why we use it. So we really come from it from that standpoint. But again, we admit to when we don't have all the answers, or when we're doing something wrong, and then we try to solve it.
That's fantastic. Any other questions about fabric?
No, that was really comprehensive. I mean, it's something that we think about too. You know, there's no perfect answer when you come in and make material and fabric selection. So,
yeah,
you know, being honest about how you're weighing those pros and cons, and how you're coming to the conclusion, and then where you do have shortcomings with the fabrics that you have selected, being open about it and how you're trying to solve it.
Yeah.
A question here from Andrea. She says, in a country like mine, sadly, sustainable fashion is expensive and people go to cheap fast fashion brands. How can we make these fast fashion brands change their minds? And how can we make sustainability more affordable?
I would answer that I don't think you can make the fashion brands more sustainable. I just don't think it's possible. I think that they greenwash a lot of what they say, and I have no love there. I think what happens with price, though, is as sustainable grows, as our companies grow and we get bigger, we get a economy of scale, and so our prices come down. And we're finding that now, as we've grown over the last 4 years, we're able to get we make more, so we're selling to more people, we're gaining traction, so we're able to think about value in a different way, and that's something that we're very thoughtful about right now. And we have been thinking about it a great deal, because we're finding people from all ages want to buy our products. We don't have an age range, and it's really a mentality. So I hope soon someone in her country will launch a brand like ours.
Yeah, and to kind of, you want to weigh in on sort of thoughts, like that was something that's kind of set core to our principles. How do you innovate at or below $100 for the sneaker market? That's kind of like the threshold. And what we're seeing is that it's doable, and the material innovation is there, and that was a huge unlock for us. It was that a lot of these, to your point, like a lot of these material vendors and a lot of these manufacturers have been thinking about this for a decade, and it's really getting buy-in from larger players to really scale it. And so I think it's on the horizon. I think that some of these younger brands that are coming up, I think the kind of the launch of the brand and the development of the product is finally kind of catching up with the material innovation that's there and the sustainable innovation that's there.
And just to echo Patrick, Andrea, what we've really seen, and what I saw even coming from a bigger brand and then launching this brand, is it's about price, and then you have to completely rechange the system and the supply chain that you've built over the past 20 years. And so when you're a publicly traded company and you're responsible for annual or quarterly earnings, it's really hard to pick up and move a full supply chain, because 10 cents to your bottom line when you're making 10 million pairs of denim, it can be a huge impact to your profit margin, and therefore your stock or your share price. And so for us, the benefit that brands like Paskho or Thousandfell have had is being able to rethink unit economics and profit and margin from day one. And we built in the cost of recycling and the cost of collecting back our product. And that would be really hard to try to fit that new recycling and back end business model into an established business.
Retrofitting's tough. Yeah.
Agreed.
I know. So Instagram Live kicked you off after an hour.
So I think
are we at that?
They're like, you guys are done. I think we've got like 7 minutes left.
Yeah.
Chloe, do you want to?
I really want to ask you about the future.
Yes.
Okay.
So, you're you're a big name in the industry and like a prolific designer. And where do you see the future of fashion heading in 2 years, and then the next 10 years?
Yeah.
Like what'll be some of the more immediate changes, and then where will we be a decade or so from now?
Yeah, I would have to start with I hope.
Okay.
I think not being a fortune teller, I hope that we're in a place where we consume the things that we really need and we really love them, right? That we're consuming beautiful, beautiful products and we really love them and we want to keep them in our lives and we want to use them every day. And I just think that that's where we have to get to. So I think that's where fashion's going to get to. I think that's where all good consumer products are going to get to. And I see that on the horizon, right? It's not happening fast as we talked about. Unfortunately, we're still in that place where some greatly made, responsible, eco-friendly products are just not very attractive, and that's in that right. And then it's one of the things I think both of our companies have focused on is that you really got to make a great product that people really love and want to be in their lives, and then it has to be responsible and sustainable and socially responsibly made. So I think that that's the future, but I think there's still a lot of large companies out there who are going to take up a lot of airtime and greenwashing and noise over the next few years talking about, because this movement's happening. Responsibly made things and sustainably, that's happening. The world's changing, people are seeing it, and the way we're living now, all in our homes, and that's going to change the way people, it's going to make that happen quicker. So that's my hope, that we all get there. But I think there's going to be a changing there. It's going to happen slowly, right? It's going to be, you're going to bring down these badly made, unresponsible things, and you're going to rise the other ones. And the people who rise up, I think, are the future of great consumer products.
That's well put. And that is our hope as well, that in 10 years, you see these newer brands that have really thought through supply chain and sourcing at the outset.
Yeah. And it's just the way it is. Like there is no other conversation, because people don't buy it in the other way.
I think we're gonna look back in 10 years and be like, man, remember that time we were buying like 50 t-shirts a year? That was crazy.
Yeah.
That's my well, do you want to kind of like we can kind of wrap things up, Patrick, with you? I know we're kind of we're getting towards the end.
Everyone watching, thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you.
If you have any other questions for Patrick or for Stuart or I, feel free to DM us. Patrick, I'm sure you'd be open to answering a few questions.
Love to.
And we're all three super passionate about the future of retail and sustainable retail, and really appreciate you spending time with us today.
And also, final plug, it's Strike for Climate. Strike for Climate today. So if you can go to Thousand Bell site, or you can kind of go to Fridays for Future. .org, and you can post like social postings on how you're striking. Oh, Chloe did a sign painting yesterday, and she wants to share with you.
Let's see.
I think my sign is great.
Oh, I love that.
This is Stuart's sign.
Even better. Even better.
But today, go support Fridays for Future. It's a great, if you want to know what to do, today's a great day to stand up and raise your voice. They've been getting a lot of traction. Yeah. And certain things like putting filters on washing machines.
Amazing.
Policy and advocacy is a great way to start getting involved.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much.
This was awesome. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.